seller conversations, and especially about how we have those conversations on an ongoing basis, what we can provide to our sellers as far as value as we go on a weekly basis. With listings sitting on market 30 to 60 to 90 days, we have to do a better job of as realtors of helping our clients understand what's actually happening with their listings and how we can best help them to get their property sold. Obviously, in the end, our goal is to get the property sold for as much money as we can and as quickly as possible. And so we have to be able to inform our sellers of what's happening with their listing in order to do that. And so today, I asked for anybody to give me a listing that has one that hasn't sold. I got a few replies, and so we'll go over those. But Lisa wants me to put her listing up here. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I've already gone over your listing, Lisa. I'll put it up. Let me
Jeff,
get into that.
Jeff, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We increased the price because it wasn't selling at 635, so we know it's going to sell at 644.9.
It's one of the best real estate tactics ever. So what's your address? Do you remember it?
It's 186 something. It's just like, just put hell, HELL, and that'll pull me up.
Oh my gosh. 186 West.
Yeah, and then 380. Yes, we increased the price because why not?
This is Lisa's listing. If you've got anybody who's interested, American Fork, 51 days on market. So 644. It's actually a pretty nice listing. It's got a few dings here and there, but overall, pretty nice house. So just needs somebody who's going to love it. So if you've got anybody for that one, contact Lisa Flutie. She'd be happy to talk to you.
And I'll also give you tickets to see a hockey game. Wink, wink. Let's get this sold. Is that legal to say?
Yeah, you can do it as long as you don't put it on the MLS. You can do whatever you want. So, all right. So this is Greg Peck's listing. It's a condo in Pleasant Grove. It's been on market for 209 days and listed originally at 336, now listed at 318,999. If we take a look at the history, looks like he had a price reduction in the end of April, the end of May, and the 1st of June, about $4,000-ish on each of those price drops. And Greg, are you on this call?
Those are very small price drops.
Yeah, so just small price drops all the way through. I don't see Greg on the call, but I'll use this example anyhow. So we've got this one that's sitting on market. It's been 209 days. So that's what, 9 months. So quite a bit of time sitting on market without any activity. 1,320 square feet, 3 beds, 1 bath. So typically agents call me and they say, you know, I've got this listing. I'm not sure what to do with it. It's not moving. What do I do? How do I help? What can I do a price drop? Do I need to do a price drop? Am I priced accordingly? Right. So one of the first tools that I think a lot of realtors overlook is the absorption report. And what the absorption report shows is how many of the listings that are on the market or going on the market are actually being pulled off. How many are being absorbed, taken off the market, right? So of your total inventory, actives and sold, under contracts and sold, how many are being pulled off the market on a regular basis? And so on the MLS, let me grab this MLS number so I've got it. But we're looking in Pleasant Grove and in the 318 price point. So if you go to your stats, this is one way to do it, and this is a quick, easy way to do it. But in your stats, there is an absorption report here for you to use. And so you can go in and narrow down. If I'm looking at 318, I'd probably look from 300 up to about 400. And I want to look just in Pleasant Grove. and I want to do solds and under contracts. Okay, and so when I look at that report, this gives you a report. It gives you the last 2 months, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 12 months. The absorption report. It shows how many currently active properties there are. This is the same all the way across because it doesn't report how many active properties there were back 12 months ago. We're trying to say of the active 23, how many months of inventory are on the market. So you've got 2 backup properties, those stay the same. 6 under contract properties, those stay the same. And then total sold properties in this price point in Pleasant Grove. So for the last 2 months, there's been 17. If we go back 6 months, there's been 47 sold. If we go back 12 months, there's been 81 homes that have sold in the past 12 months between the 300 and 400,000 price point in Pleasant Grove. And so what that tells you is that they're selling here the last couple of months about 10, 11. If you look at an overall 12-month, just straight 12-month average, it's about 7 that have been pulled off the market. Okay. And right now we've currently got 23 active properties. If no more active properties were to come on the market, then we would sell through all of our inventory within 2 months, according to the last 2 months. And if we take the last 12 months, it would take us about 3.5 months to sell through those 23 houses. Now, reality is, the last 2-3 months are the hotter part of our market. And so I think that you're probably closer to the 3-month mark, somewhere around 8 to 10 houses being sold on average in that price point. And so this gives you a good number to be able to tell your client, look, we're going to sell about 10 homes this month out of your price point. You've currently got 23 competing properties that compete with you in this price point that could sell, right? And so what I would do if I'm looking at this for my client is I would go back to a full search and go to active, and I would see those 23 properties. And now I would go through with my client and say, okay, I've got all of these properties currently on the market. Where does yours sit, right? Where do you sit price per square foot? Where do you sit list price? What does it look like for the square feet and those kind of things, right? I've got 2 brand new active listings that just came on, and those are a townhouse and a house. It looks like. My guess is that's a townhouse or a condo. It's a condo. Right. And so then I can go through, I can look a condo, another condo, 3rd condo, right? That's a townhouse, another townhouse. So these are all the ones that you're currently competing with. If I look for, where is, interesting, how come his isn't on there? Go to 9282, 376 South. Interesting. Why is it not pulling up? What did I miss?
Because it's 209 days. It's probably on the next page. I
No,
don't
because there's
know.
only 23
Oh, that's
active
true.
properties, so it should be here.
It's there, I think.
It's right here.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay. I'm sorted by something different than I usually do. I'm sorted by sold date. Sorry. So I usually sort by days on market. And so his property is actually, out of all of them, the longest on market, right? He's at 241 a square foot, which is below almost everybody on the market. He's at 318, which is below almost everybody. There's a 314.
Jeff, go that one that's 2 days on the market at 305. I think that's in his neighborhood. Because when you looked at the picture, it kind
Yeah.
of, so if
Yeah,
that's,
so that's that's definitely one of the things that we'll look at is when I'm looking at what's happening with this property is I'll look right in the neighborhood and see if anything else is active or has gone under contract or sold. Right.
It could be also the, no, the condition of the property too. Is it
For sure.
bad? Is there like engineered wood? Because that's more alluring to, yeah, see, it's a carpet.
And Jeff, the thing that's interesting, I just sold the condo above him in that exact same complex. That's 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and we bought it for 300.
Right.
This is all great feedback for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is all information, right? He should go through at this point and say, okay, this is my competition. He should go through with his clients one at a time and look at these houses and say, okay, I'm competing with this one that just came on the market. Is this one better or worse than mine? Right. And it's an up-down style condo. You've got a little bit more space in it. It's got a tiny, at least some kind of a tiny backyard that they can use versus the stacked condos, right? And it's got a garage with it. So all bonuses for this one at 350. They're probably buying this one at 350 over the other one for 318, right? And so I would go through each and every one of these, and on the first time through, right, first week of talking to my seller, and go through every single one of these. Now, on a weekly basis, what I do is I come back to this report and I say, okay, in my filters, I go back to the number of days back, and I only go to 7 days ago because I'm doing this every week on a Tuesday. I give my sellers an update, right? And this says 7 days ago, since then, how many properties have come on the market, right? So I go back and I say, these are the 7 properties that have come on the market. They're all priced, well, one's priced under and it's a little bit smaller, and the rest are priced a little bit higher than yours. This one's priced under your price per square foot. And then I go through the condition. I talk about each home and what the advantages and disadvantages of it are. And then I remind them that, hey, only 10 homes are going to sell this month. Is yours one of the top 10 that somebody would pick, right? And so then they have the information about what's actually come on the market.
And
go ahead.
did you get the 10 homes are only going to sell this month from the absorption report?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So the absorption report will tell you how many homes are selling every month, right? And it's about 10 to 11. 12 months ago, if you look at 12-month history, we're at 8. If you look at 2-month history, we're at 11. To tell you how I actually do this, so let me step back a little bit to absorption report again. And so when you do this absorption report, which I showed you before, this just gives you kind of a round number and just pulls those stats, right? But what I actually do, I don't run this report this way. What I actually do is a full search like this. Let me clear all this out because the MLS always gets kind of junky. And then what I do is I'll look at solds only, and I'm looking 300 to 400,000 in Pleasant Grove. And reality is I don't look at just Pleasant Grove, right? I look at, okay, if somebody's looking at a condo in Pleasant Grove, if I've got a buyer in Pleasant Grove, they're probably also a buyer in American Fork, probably in Orem, and probably in Vineyard. I don't know if they would, I'm probably not going to go as far as Lehigh, although some buyers may go all the way to Lehigh as well, may go out to Saratoga. But I'm going to kind of centralize it down, I think, into those 4 cities. Pleasant Grove.
Cedar Hills?
No, because that's a totally different price point for this market, right? So it's.
And Jeff, do you specify condo versus single family home, or do you leave that category open?
So I typically leave it open just because I want to know how many actual homes, because when you're competing, people aren't saying I just want a condo, right? They're saying I'll take anything in the $300,000 to $400,000 range that fits whatever I'm looking for.
Perfect.
So I leave that open to all property types. I'm trying to get into the mind of a buyer and say, if I'm a buyer and I've got $320,000 to spend, what is it that I'm looking for? And does that give me the ability to buy this house versus another one? Right. So that's what I'm trying to look for.
But why is your range so big? Like if you have 300, if you're approved for 320, you're not looking at 380.
Because typically what you're looking at is somebody who's somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 approved. Like I may be approved for 400,000, but I'm looking down around the 350, 320 mark, right? Because that fits my actual budget. So a lot of people, when they search, they'll search on 25,000 marks or they'll search on 100,000 marks. And I prefer to look bigger. Now, if you want to get specific on it, you certainly can. You can go down to 300 to 350 or 300 to 375 or somewhere in there, wherever you feel like your market is better off. For example, when I'm doing my 1.5 million in Highland, I do 1.1 to 1.9, right? So I've got an $800,000 range there because I want to know all of those properties that are both on the market and what's selling. So that's why my range is where it is. So once I get this information in, then I'm actually going month to month and looking at where we're at, right? So I want to look at 6/1 to now. So in the last month, 14 homes have sold. So that tells me that month. And then I painstakingly do this on a monthly basis, right? And then I'll go back to May. May had 21, so May had more than June. May was a hotter month for us. And so that tells you that even though the average was 11, May was better, and June, actually, we dipped quite a bit. In April, we had 24, so April was a good month. So we're cooling off since the spring market. In March, we only had 18. And I would keep going back each month, trying to figure out how many actual properties and what the market is doing on an absorption level, how many it's pulling off the market. So from what I've seen, just since March, we went up in the number of sold properties, and now we're starting to cool off again in this price point because we only sold 14 last month. So it's starting to cool a little bit. Go ahead, Bill.
On those numbers that you're looking at, those are actual closed, right?
Yeah, I'm using sold status only.
Yeah, so those are close. The reality, those went under contract. Maybe.
Sure. So you've also got, if you look at under contracts only, you've also got under contracts. This is in the last year. So under contracts, you've got 18 of those that have also been pulled off, right?
Yeah.
So those will be closing probably in the next, well, for sure in the next, 10 to 30 days, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll
So
see.
it looks like numbers wise, it should have already sold from how you're showing us. So I wonder if like getting that property to go to be added to the realtor stores, so there's actually
Mhm.
walk through. Sometimes what
definitely
you
a tool.
see, sometimes what you see on the pictures on numbers really different from when you see it personally.
Right. So that's actually a tool that you can use as the realtor tours. I also don't know how many showings this particular home has had. All I know is the MLS number. Greg just sent that over. I don't know what the buyer feedback is. I don't know, if somewhere in the house they've got a huge hole in the wall that needs to be repaired. I don't know the condition of the carpet or the flooring. Like there's a lot of things that I don't know. So I'm specifically just looking at what numbers I have available to me on this.
Jeff,
Yep.
could you show us that absorption chart again? Because I'm not quite understanding, like when it says 2 months, 3 months, and the active properties, why the number is the same for like each month, and then why and how that whole, the graph works where it says absorption rate and inventory, because I would expect them to be a lot different to what they were. They seemed like they weren't too far off of each other, whereas it should be the absorption rate's way lower than the inventory. Oh, it is. Okay. No, the inventory. Yeah. See, why is it showing the absorption rates higher than the inventory?
Okay, so let me explain what each of these are. So obviously, active properties is the number of current active properties on the market. Backup properties, how many are in backup status? Under contract is how many are under contract currently, and sold, how many have sold during this time frame. So during the last 2 months, the last 3 months, the last 4 months, etc.
Why
Right?
does it stay the same? Why is it 23 across the whole every
Because
time?
because this just takes into account how many current active properties there are, right? How many current backup properties there are.
Oh, so
how
it's
many
not saying what
current-
was current 6
No,
months ago. It's
no,
just saying
just
what's current right now and putting
yeah,
that figure into every spot.
correct. And then we've taken, what we're doing is we're taking sold and under contract and we're adding them together and then dividing this by it, right? So if you
So
look
is the 6 in the last 2 months that there's 6 under contract, and forget that it says it under 12 months? Just look
now,
at the
so in these first three rows, these are all current. The only one that
Okay.
changes is the sold properties. Every other one is current. So as of right now, today, we have 6 under contract properties in that price range, 2 backup properties, and 23 active properties.
Okay. So 12 months ago, 81 sold in a 6-month period, because it jumps from 6 months to 12 months, or what's the 81 mean?
81 is how many sold properties sold in the last 12 months.
Oh, okay. And 47's in 6 months.
6 months.
And 5 is in.
Yep. So they go down on each one. And then the market absorption is how many total properties are being pulled from the market. So about 11 per month. So if you take 8 plus 17 and you divide that by 2.
It's 12, Jeff, 12.5, 25 divided by 2.
So there you go. So that's giving you, they must not be taking backup properties into it, right? And
Yeah,
that's
because it
giving
only
you
says
11.5.
2.17. Oh, wait, no, absorption.
No, so it's giving you
11.
11 properties, 11.5 per month. So if you add the under contracts to the sold properties and divide it by 2, or the under contracts plus the sold properties of 27 divide by 3, right? It gives you what that market, how many actual properties are being taken off per month in absorption. And then it says, if we have 11 properties being taken off the market every month, and we've got 2 months worth, that means that if we've got 23 properties, right, divided by 11.5 gives us 2 months of inventory, right? Because the first month I would sell 11.5, the second month I would sell 11.5, and then I only have a few more properties left over to sell if no more properties came on the market.
Okay.
So that's the difference between what absorption is. Absorption is how many is being taken off the market. Inventory is saying how quickly, how long would it take us to sell through all of the current inventory if nothing else came on the market.
So is that saying
Yeah.
that things look better now? Because in the last 2 months, you only got, but back 12 months ago, they had more inventory. They had 3.45 months of inventory back 12
Yep.
months ago.
So when your inventory goes up, once you hit about 3 to 4 months of inventory, it's considered, it's moving into buyer territory, buyer market territory, right? And so we're actually moving the other direction in this price point, right? This is a very low price point for Utah, crazy enough, right? So 300 to 400, we're actually moving more towards a seller's market because we're having less and less inventory. We were down to just weeks of inventory, like 2 weeks of inventory during COVID, right? It was such a strong seller market. So does that make sense? And then this chart's just these numbers taken down here in a chart format. So that's the only difference to that. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so once I have that, the next thing that I do is I'll actually go back and I'll look at, let me get my search back. Instead of looking at the actives, more important to me is the under contracts. Well, at least as important, because actives for sure, I know I've got to be in the top 11 properties to sell. There's 6 under contracts. Now I want to go back and see what's going under contract, right? And if I look at what's going under contract, You've got a condo, 2006, a townhouse at 2006, condo, 2006, condo, 2009, 2016, 2005. Square footage, they're all, well, this one's about the same square footage. These are all a little bit smaller. This one's probably the closest to the subject property. It was listed at 399. But it's got laminate throughout. And it's got an up-down style. Right, so it's got a little bit better amenities there. And you've got a 2-car garage that goes with it. Okay, so this one went under contract probably just a few days ago because it was only on market 7 days. You had one that was on market 80 days that's currently under contract. And so I would go through this list every week. I want to highlight for my clients how many properties went under contract this week, right? And so I want to make sure and tell them this is how many of these properties are actually now under contract. You weren't one of those, and so your house actually helped sell these houses instead of being one that sold, because they probably went and saw the subject property and went and saw this listing as well and still bought this one, right? So I want to get into the weeds with that and determine why is it that I feel like this one sold and mine didn't, right? And make sure that my client understands what the difference is there. Okay, so that's the absorption report and what I would do with that as far as the information that I need there. Let me move this over here. Sorry.
So what are we telling Greg about his listing? What did we?
Right now, what I'm telling, I mean, I haven't seen his property, so I don't know. But what I would tell him is to go through these under contracts and figure out what it is that's actually differentiating between what's going under contract and what's not, right? Why is it that these 6 properties are receiving a contract, and why is it that yours isn't, right? And so, you know, without taking an hour and actually digging through it, I can't tell him that just based off this really quick look, right? But this is where I think he should start, is looking at this. The second thing that I think that you should do on any given property every single week, and most people don't know that this exists. In fact, Lisa just found this out yesterday, I think, is under aligned showings. There is a report section. So when you go into aligned showings, you can go to this report tab. And in this reports tab, it's going to show you the listing activity, not only for your listings, but for everybody else's listings, right? And so up here at the top, you've got my listing activity. And if this ever populates, there it goes. This shows you for my listings, and it goes clear back for all my listings. But for my listings, how many actual showings did they receive, right? And so you'll be able to see that. If I go to a price point analysis, this is the one that I recommend that you use with your sellers every single week, right? Because you're going to know how many showings that you received. And this is going to be able to tell you what the market is actually seeing. So for 84062, which is Pleasant Grove, is what I want to look at. I'm just going to leave it at the last month. Typically, when I'm doing a report for my seller, I do it week by week because I'm updating them every single week how many showings the properties are getting. And so you can narrow that down or widen it however you want to look at it. I'm going to look at the last month for this price point, and I'm going to go again 300 to 400. And I'm going to leave it at $10,000 increments. And aligned is being really slow today. All right, so I ignore this top one. I don't even look at it really. For me, this is the information that I want, although this is the same stuff, right? But this is the information that I want. Greg's listing is in this 310 to 319 price point. And we can see that of all of the active properties this last week, there were, this last month, there were a total of 12 showings over the past month. And down here at the end, you can see that that translates to 2 showings per listing during the last month. So that's only one every other week in his price point. right? And so if he didn't have any showings at all, then he's 2 below the actual price, the actual average of this price point. If he had 4 showings during the last month, then he can tell his clients, look, you're getting more showings than any other property out there, but you're still not selling. What is it that we're getting feedback on and need to do in order to improve this? Now, if you look at this, just dropping into the 309, they got almost twice as many showings on that price point in that property, right? And so you can look at all the different price points. A lot of times you'll see a bigger variable here. And so you can see that from the 350 price point is one of the highest showing levels. And again, the 375 range is one of the highest. And so by looking at this, you can determine kind of how many showings you're getting, if you're getting enough showings compared to the competition, or if you're even getting more showings. And then you can let your seller know, this is how many showings we should be getting, and this is what the average is, right? And how many we're actually getting. So this is an extremely valuable report, I feel like, to inform your sellers so that they understand how many showings they should be getting on this. Any questions on this particular report? Okay.
Could you go back and show me how you brought up that other report under my listing activity?
Yeah, it's the same thing. So it's reports up here at the top, right underneath where it says alignshowings.com are the 2 different tabs. The first one is my listing activity. The second one is price point analysis. So my listing activity will show you the actual number of showings for your property.
So I've brought that up and it's not showing me. Oh, but I want to see the comparables with other people's. How did you bring up what other people's?
So the comparable with other people's is in the price point analysis.
Oh, that was the only way to bring that up. Okay.
Yep.
And it doesn't show you the address of the properties. It just shows you how many.
Right. So in order to do that, right, for this one, for example, I would have to go in, I would have to pull all the actives for 310 to 319. And then I would know that of those properties, they got 12 showings over the past month. But I wouldn't know which ones got which one, maybe one had 12 showings and everybody else had 0, right? I don't know that. They don't give you that information here.
But on the first thing, my listing activity, that gives you at least your properties, like your specific property in that price range. So like if you're doing it on your hidden oak, in the past month, you got 0 showings. And is that
Yep.
true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because we just came back on market. So for this one, for example, I had 8 total approved show. Actually, Hidden Oaks is different because they're not actually here. I'm not doing showings through Align Showings because of the way that they want showings done. And that's why that one's 0. So this one had 8 total showings. I got 3 pieces of feedback on it. Payson is showing 0 showings and 2 feedback. Not sure how that works.
Yeah, how'd you do that? How'd you manage
Yeah,
that?
this is probably in the last 30 days, this showing number. So
Jeff, on the price point analysis, can you put in more than one zip code?
let me check. Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Not that I can see. Let me
Okay.
see if I separate it. No, that it won't let you.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, so that's a limitation of aligned showings only. So you could run one for each zip code and then combine them and then do the math for you. All right, next one that I want to show you is ListTrac. So ListTrac is another included feature that you have and helps you go through all of your listings and see where they sit with the number of the number of views that they've had online. Mine is a little bit skewed. My dashboard is skewed because as a broker, I get all of your listings in my dashboard. You can see I've got everybody's listings here. And so it shows how many, anyhow, let me go to an actual listing. Anybody recognize any of those?
No, but why is this report helpful for my sellers?
I'll
What's
show you.
okay. I thought you said it and I missed
So
it.
we'll pick one. So this one, for example, it shows that it's had 7. That's a bad example. It only has Utah real estate. Let me pull my hidden oak. Okay, so in the last 30 days, this shows how many views it's had in each of these, on each of these sites. So on Zillow, it's had 695 views, Utah Real Estate 428, Realtor 338, Trulia 16, and on broker sites or agent sites, it's had 8. If I look at the visitors since June 2nd, so for the past month, it shows you each day how many showings I've had. So you can see I was under contract during this whole time and still getting showings. And then we came back on market right here on the 17th. And that's when I got a whole bunch more showings.
Wait, showings or views?
Sorry, views, not
Okay.
yeah, so views on that property. If I look at the life of the listing, when it first came on, I had a whole bunch of views online, and then it slowly died off when I went into contract, and then I went back and have started to have more views again. If for any reason your client cares, I don't know why they would, it also gives you where those views are coming from. Every once in a while, I get some foreign stuff that pops up, but usually it's all just almost dead center on Utah. You can see you've got a little bit of green over on the East Coast that's seen it. But for the most part, that's it. Number of inquiries, how many inquiries you've had through Utah Real Estate. These are usually people who want to sell you carpet cleaning or something like that. But every once in a while, you get a lead through their Utah Real Estate. How many people have favored it, how many times it's been shared. And so these are all important information for your seller so that they understand exactly what's happening with the property. Now, the nice thing is ListTrac can actually set this up as something that you can have automatically sent out to your client on a weekly basis. And you can send them this report whenever you want, right? And so here's Leah's report. Shows the analytics, shows the stats, how many property views, favorites, inquiries, shows a picture of the property, top 10 cities that looked at that property in the past 30 days, top 10 websites that were used to view those listings, and then your picture and your contact information, right? And they can click in and see more information if they want. So this is an auto-generated report that can go out anytime that you want. You just go into ListTrac and set it up.
How did you do that? How did she set that up?
So if you go into your seller reports, you're actually able to go in here into each one and set them up for delivery.
How do I do that? You know, I don't know this computer stuff. So
Yeah.
what do I do?
That's exactly why. So what's your property address again?
186.
Okay, so you'll go in, you'll only see your listings, you
Right.
don't have this whole list, but you'll find it, and then you'll do schedule delivery right
Okay.
here. And you can go in and set up all that information, how you
Perfect.
want it to look, and then just save it, how
Okay.
often you want it to go, save it, and it will just automatically do it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I'm going to show you, in fact, let me show you right now what it is that I send on a weekly basis. So this is a template that I use every single week. I use the same one on Tuesdays with my clients every week. It goes with obviously you have to fill it all in. It goes through and gives you the number of new buyer inquiries. So how many people have called on the property, how many showings have happened, what happened with an open house, how many online views total it had, the market stats, the showings, and the feedback from buyers. And then this is where I put in the information that I just showed you in ListTrac. I'll pull it out and put it in here. I prefer to send it myself so it looks like I'm doing all the work, even though I'm just aggregating the data. And then I do a market position, which tells them the new listings, the under contracts, and the solds during this last week. I'll do a local market snapshot. So we'll talk about how much inventory has come on the market or left the market, what the median sales price is, average days on market for there, the absorption report, the 30-day mortgage rate, if it's going up or down. and then my recommendations to them as far as what our pricing strategy should be, what needs to happen on the house, what our next steps are, and our action report. And so I'll do this every single week on a Tuesday. I send this to my client so that they have all of this information. And my goal here is to arm my seller with as much information as possible and have them making the decisions, right? And so when I get down here and I'm talking about what is it that I'm going to do on my pricing strategy and recommendation, let's say that I want to do a price drop. I will, instead of saying, I think we should do a price drop to 500,000, I'll say, based on the data and information above, the market is suggesting that we make a price reduction to 500,000, right? And then I ask them what they would like to do. That way it's never me making this decision about a price drop. It's them making it based on the data and the information that I'm able to provide them. That way I'm not held accountable for it, right? If the price drop does or doesn't work, they're the ones that made the decision on it.
What's the verbiage you would use if you, like, you're looking at these pictures and it's like, oh, we have builder beige from 2015 and everything's white now. Like, would you say also I would suggest painting, or how do you say that, like, nice?
Yeah, so usually that comes through feedback as well, right? And that's the importance of really having strong feedback from buyers agents and reaching out to them and seeing, what they're able to give you. But usually I'll have at least one buyer that will comment. For example, my Hidden Oaks property has blue carpet in the kitchen, right? And I have buyers all the time telling me, I just couldn't get past the blue carpet in the kitchen. And so what I'll say is, based on current market feedback from buyers and from buyers agents, it appears that the blue carpet in the kitchen is something that's holding back our listing from being able to be sold, something that we might want to address in order to do that. Is that something that you're open to? Let me know, right? Something along those lines.
Will you send that out to us in a way that we could edit it and use that and copy you?
No way, man.
Come on, Jeff. I need that. My price went up from these.
Hold on.
After I gave
Hold
them
on.
everything you told me, they said, our house is priced too low with 0 showings.
I just sent
Lisa,
you.
we have got to get that house on tour. I swear, tour is like one of the best things, because then you're not the bad guy. 9 to 12 other agents that come through, and they're all brutally honest.
Okay.
It was great when I couldn't get my Lehigh house sold. So it was good.
So there's a link to that template in chat. So you're welcome to go there, download it, and use it at your convenience. Obviously, if you want to modify it or do anything to it, you're welcome to use it however you want. So it's in a Word document format. If for some reason you need it in a different format, just reach out. Happy to help you make sure and get that. Okay. And so those are the important things as you go through and you're having these conversations, being able to show them what the absorption is, like how many properties are being taken off, being able to give them all of the feedback, whether it's from board tours or from buyers or your own feedback, being able to give them the ListTrac stats as far as how often it's being seen online, and then being able to talk to them about all of the marketing that you're doing on a weekly basis, right? Part of my report talks about how many postcards I sent out, how many boosts I did on Facebook, what I did for open houses, right? All of the marketing efforts that I put into this. And that way I'm putting it in front of them on a weekly basis. If you don't do that and you go for 2-3 weeks and you just don't even talk to your clients and you're calling them back and saying, hey, I think we probably ought to drop the price, they're going to feel like the only reason you're doing that is so that you can get a sold property, not because it actually warrants it, right? And so being able to have these conversations weekly, giving them the information weekly about what actually needs to happen, helps them to understand what it is that's happening with their home in the market. And then they can make an educated decision about what they should actually do going forward. In Greg's case, he should take his listing and take a look at it very strongly to figure out, is this actually where I should be positioned, right? And as far as price, it appears to be, but maybe there's some condition or feedback that needs to be overcome. And so in order to figure that out, he's really going to have to dig into what other properties have sold. Why was that one sold and not mine? Maybe make some phone calls to agents and say, hey, why is it that you went under contract with this one? Did you look at my listing as well? Was there other feedback that could help me? right? And so that way he has a great understanding about what's happening with his actual property on the market in order to do that. One of the first things that I would probably do, I don't think for a condo that these give a great first impression to show the front of the building. So I would actually probably change that picture to something that shows a little bit more space, like this one with the kitchen and the family room as the front picture. And you'll see that quite often with a condo. And so that's one thing that I think should probably happen. I didn't notice anything else in pictures that he needs to do. Nothing that needs to be taken out. A lot of times, you know, I'll also take pictures out that make the property look worse than it actually is. So other things to consider. Questions, comments, suggestions? What did I miss?
It was
All right,
good.
you
Thank
guys,
you.
you guys know it all now then. If you need help with suggestions with how to use the absorption report, if you need to know how to pull pricing for your property, if you need to know, you know, how do I look at the actives versus my current home, whatever it is, how do I use ListTrac? How do I set it up? If you forget how to get into that aligned showings report, any of that stuff, let me know. Or if you've just got a property that you're like, look, this isn't selling, can you help walk through this and dig into it for me? I'm happy to do that. It takes me roughly an hour to an hour and a half to get through your property and give you some good suggestions. But if you've really got one that you're struggling with, I'm happy to take a strong look at it and give you my suggestions on what should happen with it.
Are you
So-
gonna email, are you gonna send this out to us, this, and then will you put the link for your form?
Yes, the link for the form is in chat. So you can
I
get
don't see it.
I have it, Lisa. I can text it to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen.
It's in the chat, Lisa. You just have to scroll up a little bit.
You're just a loser, Lisa.
I am. You're right. I cannot get this home sold. I am a loser.
It's in chat again at the very bottom, right under
Okay.
Jared's
Oh,
comment
well, see,
thing.
it said bit.ly. That doesn't look like a link to something that I would want. It looks like a link to something that would like eat all my bank account or something.
Well,
No,
it
it's the
does, but
link
it
to the
also,
form.
that's part of the deal. I get your bank account, you get my template. It works out.
There you go.
All right, guys, hope you have a great week. If there's
Thank
anything
you,
I can do
Jeff.
for you, let me know. But yes, this is recorded. It will be sent out in my weekly email. If you guys aren't on my weekly email, you're in another district, let me know and I can give you links to it as well. Actually, it's on my YouTube channel. That's where it'll be uploaded. So if you don't subscribe to that, let me know. I can give you a link to that as well. Hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for being amazing agents. Just know this market is very finicky, right? The houses that are perfect are selling. The houses that have any issue at all are sitting. And so you've really got to get your house to the point that it's either absolutely can't pass deal in pricing or it's absolutely perfect. And that's what's currently selling in the market. Rates are coming down, new CPI numbers, interest rate numbers due July 15th. So maybe we'll see an additional reduction, but we're around 6.5. So really good market for your clients overall. Time to get out there and get to work. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being awesome. And we'll talk to you guys later.